Hi, welcome to Curtis Goes Corner. Proud to live in the greatest country in the world. Unfiltered opinions, no PC discussion here. Agree, disagree, hate it, love it, it's all good. Sit back and enjoy some unfiltered commentary. We discuss politics, culture, interviews, and more. Your comments are always welcome. Please help the channel by hitting that subscribe button. Doesn't cost a thing. And as always, thanks for your support. Hi folks, welcome back to Curtis Goes Corner. 140 House Republicans may vote against certifying the Electoral College vote on January 6th. Jake Tapper noted on Thursday that two House Republicans have confirmed to him that at least 140 Republicans will oppose the certification of Electoral College on January 6th. And Josh Hawley, senator from Missouri, posted on Twitter, millions of voters concerned about election integrity deserve to be heard. I will object on January 6th on their behalf. Now, see, here's the thing to you anti-Trump people, that this whole thing's a scam and there was no, he just lost and it's sour grapes. And here's the thing. Now we're talking about outside lawsuits, just talking about lawsuits from the Trump campaign or President Trump himself. Have all been pushed away, not on the merits. None of them have done it on the merits. There's always a procedural problem. Sorry about the picture there, but this photo has not been edited. Oh, okay. Anyway, I digress. They feel cheated. They feel that they didn't get their day in court. And they're right. They didn't. Do you think for a minute that in 2015, when the case for same-sex marriage came up finally to be decided by the Supreme Court, which made it illegal in the United States, that the court said, well, you know what, you didn't file your paperwork correctly, or you missed a date, or you did this or did this, that, and basically blew it off on a procedural matter, they would be pissed. The progressives would be furious. They didn't get their day in court. They didn't get a chance to have the case for same-sex marriage, where they've been pushing for years. Do you think for a minute that they would have said, all right? Let's read on. Jake Tapper noted that Thursday that two House Republicans have confirmed to him that at least 140 Republicans will oppose the certification Electoral College votes on January 6th. I like the CNN panic. The Electoral College has already voted for Joe Biden to attain the Oval Office over Donald Trump, the result of a tight contest. But the results of that vote are still to be certified prior to Biden taking power by the House and the Senate. Two House Republicans tell me they expect the same thing. It was Wednesday that Senator Josh Hawley issued a statement that he would not vote in favor of certifying the results. He was widely criticized for this, but said he was fighting for millions of voters concerned about election integrity deserved to be heard, he said, and he would object on January 6th on their behalf. Well, good for you. I agree. They should have got their day in court. Now, here's a statement from Senator Hawley. He's from Missouri. I'm not going to read the whole thing if you want to. At the very least, Congress should investigate allegations over voter fraud and adopt measures to secure the integrity of our elections, but Congress so far failed to act. For these reasons, I will follow the same practice Democrat members of Congress have in years past and object during the certification process on January 6th to raise these critical issues. People forgot. The Democrats are always challenging whenever time a Republican won. They did it when Trump won. They did it when both Bushes won. It's hypocrites, absolute hypocrites, but people want their day in court. There's over 74 million people, at least that's what they say, voted for Donald Trump. That's not insignificant. That's a big deal. That's a lot of people. Oddly enough, the 80-something million that voted for Joe Biden, supposedly, you put those numbers together, is actually more than the registered voters in the country by 13 million, but I digress. And that's part of the point. There's just too many irregularities and anomalies. And how could you do a full investigation in such a short time frame? Would you have 36 days or some damn thing from the election day? And they were still counting votes 10, 15 days after the election. It was ridiculous. But I will say this. I got to admire, at least in part, the Democrats, how they pulled this off. It was a brilliant strategy. Absolutely brilliant. Of course, they basically burned down the Capitol building and burned down our republic and wiped their ass with a constitution. But I digress again. It was a brilliant strategy. It was the only way they could win. I mean, the anomalies are just incredible. There's like dozens of them. Bellwether counties, bellwether states, 27 out of 27 close toss-up congressional seats. All 27 went Republican. Republicans even picked up 2 state legislatures, if I'm not mistaken. The Democrats were wiped out in Congress. And yet somehow the incumbent president lost. None of it makes any sense. Hundreds of thousands of ballots were being counted with no supervision. People that voting or were counting ballots put up cardboard in the windows so nobody could see. He got a judge's order so they could watch the ballot counting. And then they ignored that, judge's order. You had to get a judge's order to watch the fair process of counting. So then they hit him in the building when they couldn't even see anything. And then the judge will, well, they're in the building. That's what the statute says. So it's dismissed. If they didn't cheat, if they didn't do all the things a lot of Republicans and Trump supporters are thinking they did, they sure as hell did everything in their power to make it look like they did. They had nothing to be afraid of. They had nothing to hide. What's with all the attitude? What's with counting ballots at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning? And then when they come in the middle of the night, why is it that all the key swing states on election night all stop counting 10, 11 o'clock at night? All of a sudden, bang, they just stopped. I mean, back in the 60s, for Pete's sake, with a lot less technology than we have now, they had results fairly quick. It was late into the night with Kennedy-Nixon, to be sure, but they still had it. They still had it. It was a brilliant plan. Flood the key states, or I should say the swing states, electoral votes, with tens of millions of unsolicited ballots. Don't let them lie and say that the ballots they sent out were just like absentees. And the president, he has a residence now in Florida, and he voted absentee, and he's a hypocrite. Blah, 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 blah. Well, the fact of the matter was he requested an absentee. They sent out old databases, dead people that haven't voted in 10 years, and the list goes on, and God knows how many millions moved. But they still went there. And a lot of them ended up coming back. Isn't that interesting? But here's the other funny part. You got all these recounts. Well, when those ballots came in, a lot of the states, the swing states, chucked the envelopes they came with. So there's no verification now. So you can recount the damn thing all you want to, and it still comes out the same. This whole thing stinks. But they're going to get away with it, and that's the way it is. Sometimes the good guys don't win. Let's read on. He has reportedly been joined by more in the GOP who back his assertion that he cannot vote to certify the Electoral College results on January 6th without raising the fact that some states, particularly Pennsylvania, fail to follow their own election laws. CNN reported that Senior Majority Leader Mitch McConnell had instructed Republicans not to go ahead with opposing the vote. However, McConnell also has withheld the scheduling of a vote on the COVID relief bill, which was passed by the House, signed by Trump, and now unlikely to go to the Senate prior to the next year. Hawley stated that he cannot count to verify without pointing out the unprecedented effort of mega corporations, including Facebook and Twitter, to interfere in this election in support of Joe Biden. At the very least, Congress should investigate allegations of voter fraud and adopt measures to secure the integrity of our elections. But Congress has failed to act, Hawley said. Now, that's true. When the Hunter Biden thing came out, Facebook and Twitter banned it all, banned every word of it. In fact, I saw some surveys that said after the election, people that voted for Biden, 40% of them said they knew nothing about the Hunter Biden problem, the Hunter Biden scandal. And I believe 17% said they would not have voted for Joe Biden if they'd have known. That's election interference. That's election interference. And those of you out there that say, well, they got a right, they're a private company, they can do what they want to. No. They got a pass from the federal government. Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act said they can't be sued for things that are said on their platforms. So they're not publishers. So those of you that say can do what they want to, they can't. But they did it anyway. They didn't give a good damn. That's election interference. Be honest with you, if I was in charge down in Washington, I would put the CEOs and some of the board members in Facebook and Twitter, I would put them up on charges and trial of election interference and put them in jail if I could. They took the Constitution and wiped their asses with it. There's nobody that can deny that. You can say, well, all you tin hat lunatic conspiracy theorists about the election, FRAUD, blah, blah, blah. No, well, you can't talk away Twitter and Facebook. Can't talk that away. Hawley also widely criticized for voting his concerns, including by Democrats who were pleased to behave similarly when the conflict was in their favor. Senator Dick Durbin said that Hawley's statement was, Dick Durbin, what a piece of crap. Sorry, he is. The political equivalent of barking at the moon. This won't be taken seriously, nor should it be. The American people made a decision on November 3rd, and that decision must and will be honored and protected by the U.S. Senate and the House of Representatives. Protected my ass. When Trump was elected in 2016 and when George W. Bush was elected in 2000, Democrats brought objections with regard to electoral votes. Senator Barbara Boxer, remember her? In 2005, objected to the electoral votes from Ohio that were cast in favor of President Bush. This resulted in Congress needing to debate separately for 2 hours over whether or not to allow a House votes for Bush to stand. While neither chamber voted to reject the votes, Dick Durbin backed the move to consider rejecting the votes, saying, and this is what he said back then. Read it. Some may criticize our colleague Barbara Boxer from California for bringing us here for this brief debate, Durbin said at the time, but knowing that he would not vote to reject Ohio's electoral votes. I thank you for doing so because it gives members an opportunity to once again on a bipartisan basis, oh shit, sorry, I promised I wouldn't swear in these episodes anymore, but it's hard. Bipartisan basis to look at a challenge that we face, not just in the last election in one state, but in many states. After the November 3rd general election, issues regarding alleged ballot fraud and election irregularities were raised, and Trump campaign pursued lawsuits in Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, Georgia, and Nevada to obtain recounts and audits of absentee votes. And explains what the state of Texas did, and that's the thing that really got to me. The state of Texas brought a case against Pennsylvania to the Supreme Court, but the court declined to hear it. Despite legal failures, many in the GOP have stated their ongoing concerns not just about the general election results, but election and voting procedures in states across the U.S. The Supreme Court had no backbone. That's why they're appointed for life. So you can't go after them. You can't vote them out, or you can't not appoint them anymore. It's absolutely cowardly what they did. Cowardly. You mean to tell me it only takes 4 justices to hear a case? And they didn't dismiss it on the merits. They didn't say it was basically full of crap, and whatever the legal definition of that is. It was a procedural problem. Something about filings, I'm not really sure. I'm not a lawyer, but it was procedural. I'm so upset about what the Supreme Court did, and that's the problem. Now, 70-odd million people that voted for Donald Trump feel cheated. They didn't get their day in court, and they should have. Just like the people, Roe versus Wade, Brown versus the Board of Education, same-sex marriage case before the Supreme Court. If all of those were chucked because they were too cowardly to hear them, there would have been hell to pay. The state of Texas brought a case against Pennsylvania in the Supreme Court, but the court declined to hear it. Despite legal failures, many in the GOP have stated their ongoing concerns, not just about the general election results, but election and voting procedures in the states across the U.S. Now, I want you those out there, you progressive mental pygmies out there, to say, well, the Supreme Court turned them down. It was a procedural matter. They did not turn them down on the merits. And here's the thing. How would you guys have felt if Roe v. Wade, Brown versus the Board of Education, the same-sex marriage case, was pushed aside because they were too cowardly to hear it? You would have been furious. You would have been marching in the streets. You would have been pissed. But instead, here's what you get. Crickets. Crickets from the left. We won. We don't care. They don't give a damn about right and wrong. They don't give a damn about fairness. The major issue concerned absentee balloting, which is ramped up as Democrats stoke fears that voting in person should spread coronavirus and pose a danger to those practicing their civic duty. Yeah, 24/7. You step outside your house, you'll die. If you go to the store, you'll die. If you go to a restaurant, you'll die. And if you don't die, you'll kill grandma. You'll kill grandpa. You'll kill your sick uncle. It's effing ridiculous. There have been only two presidential elections that were decided in the House of Representatives in 1800 and 1824. However, Congress has never amended the Electoral College votes. 1824 was the famous Jackson, John Quincy Adams debacle. They got away with it. It's as simple as that, and that's the way it goes. I don't like it. I think it's ridiculous. And those of you out there that hate Donald Trump's guts and think just for a moment, okay, justice was served. He's a racist. He's a monster. He hates Mexicans and blah, 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 and all the other crap. We won. He didn't. Too bad. Well, sometime this is going to come back and bite you in the ass. You took the Constitution and wipe your asses with it. It's going to come back and bite you in the ass. Believe it. And in 2 years, you're going to get wiped out in the House of Representatives and in the Senate. Because in 2 years, when a third of the Senate is up, 2/3 of them are Democrats. And you came within a hair's breadth, even with supposedly Donald Trump losing control of the House of Representatives. I believe it's 5 or 6 seats. You only have a majority. That's all. You got wiped. And you're dancing in the streets. You don't see what happened. The American people have rejected you. They're going to reject the rest of you in 2 years. You better pray to hell. You better pray to God that you win both of those seats in Georgia. Because the Democrat Party, as it exists today, is going to be burnt to the ground. Remember that, folks. And until next time, goodbye and good luck.